You can't go up there. Step away from the elevator now. The voice was sharp, slicing through the marble lobby like a warning shot. Heads turned. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. In the center of the room stood a black woman in dark jeans and a fitted black t-shirt, a single carry-on bag slung over her shoulder. She didn't flinch. It was 7:42 p.m. in downtown Manhattan, the hour when the lobby of the 50-story Sterling residences usually hummed with quiet elegance, residents returning from work, a soft murmur of concierge greetings. But tonight, the building manager's voice echoed like a siren. "You heard me," he barked again, stepping closer. His nameplate read Robert Lang, but the way he squared his shoulders, you'd think he owned the place. He didn't. "Sir, I live here," the woman said evenly, holding up a slim black keycard. Her tone was calm, steady. Robert smirked, didn't even glance at the card. "Penthouse. Really? You're telling me you live in the penthouse?" His voice rose, performative now, for the small crowd gathering behind her. "Not happening. Step aside before I call security." A ripple moved through the bystanders, neighbors, delivery couriers, even a dog walker clutching two leashes. They didn't know her name. "Not yet. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change. And we're glad you're here." Now back to her. The elevator behind her chimed and opened, a pair of well-dressed residents stepping out. They hesitated when they saw the standoff, exchanging looks. One whispered something about scammers under his breath. Robert took a step closer. "This building has strict protocols," he said, voice booming now. "We've had people try to sneak in before. You fit the pattern." She stared at him, unblinking. "And what pattern is that?" He didn't answer. He didn't have to. Robert reached for the keycard she was holding. "I'll be holding on to this until we verify your information," he said, yanking it from her fingers before she could respond. He turned and handed it to the uniformed security guard standing at his shoulder. "If she moves, escort her out. Do you understand?" "Yes, sir," the guard replied, his eyes shifting uncomfortably. The woman didn't raise her voice. She didn't lunge for the card. She simply adjusted the strap of her bag on her shoulder and said, "You just made a mistake." Robert scoffed. "The only mistake would be letting you anywhere near the penthouse level. Now, step away from the elevator. This lobby isn't for visitors." Someone in the back murmured, "She said she lives here." Another voice hushed them. Phones started to lift discreetly. One young man, near the mailroom window, angled his camera toward the scene, whispering, "I'm recording this. Just in case." Robert noticed, puffed up his chest, and barked, "Turn that off. You can't film in here." But the camera didn't lower. The woman's eyes flicked toward the elevator. The doors were still open, waiting, like a stage behind the curtain. But Robert had planted himself squarely in front of it, arms crossed, lips curled in smug authority. "You have one chance to leave quietly," he said, leaning in so close his words brushed her cheek. "If you don't, I'll have you removed. You understand me?" The woman inhaled slowly, her calm at odds with the tension crackling in the air. She had been here before. Different buildings, different faces, the same tone. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out, tapped the screen, and spoke softly into the receiver. "Activate security protocol. Record every access log for the last 10 minutes. Robert frowned. "Who are you calling?" She met his gaze, eyes steady. "You'll find out soon enough." The lobby's tension thickened, like static before a storm. The woman didn't move. She simply slipped her phone back into her pocket and stood tall in the center of the marble floor. Her name was Ariana Cole, 42 years old, founder and CEO of Cole International Holdings, a real estate investment group that quietly owned more than a dozen skyscrapers in New York City, including the very one she was now being denied access to. But no one here knew that, because Ariana had made sure of it. She had returned from a 3-day trip to London that morning, landing at JFK hours later than planned. Her driver had dropped her at Sterling residences with no entourage, no assistants, no designer luggage, just a single black carry-on. She'd changed into the most anonymous outfit in her wardrobe, clean jeans, a plain black t-shirt, sneakers, no watch, no jewelry. No one would look at her and think, billionaire. And that was the point. The last time Ariana had visited, she'd noticed something. The way Robert Lang, the building manager, looked through people. Not at them, through them. The subtle pauses when certain residents asked questions, the way security guards shifted when young black men walked into the lobby. She'd made a mental note then. Tonight, that note had become reality. Robert, still holding her key card like it was evidence, turned to the security guard. "Put that in the lockbox," he ordered. "We'll verify if she's even in the system." The guard hesitated, glancing at Ariana as if silently apologizing, then obeyed. "You don't have to do this," Ariana said quietly, her voice calm but carrying across the lobby. "You can scan the card right now and you'll see it's valid." Robert barked a laugh. "Oh, I'm sure it'll scan. That's what scammers count on. Cheap fakes that fool the machine. We'll call the owner. And trust me, when they find out you're pretending to live here," he let the threat hang. Ariana's gaze didn't waver. "Call them," she said simply. Robert's smile faltered, just for a second. A couple stepped out of the elevator, pausing at the sight of the standoff. The woman whispered, "What's going on?" "Another trespasser," Robert said loudly, performing for the growing crowd. "She claims she lives in the penthouse." The man's eyebrows rose. "Does she?" Robert didn't answer the question directly. "She doesn't belong here. That's all you need to know." The woman holding the dog leash shifted uncomfortably. One of the couriers muttered under his breath. A janitor pushing a supply cart had stopped near the far corner, watching silently. Ariana adjusted her bag strap, her movements deliberate, unhurried. She had been here before, at 23, in Atlanta, when a leasing agent looked at her application and told her the penthouse was already taken. She had been here again at 28, in Chicago, when a security guard followed her up and down a lobby because he didn't recognize her face. Every time, she'd swallowed the sting and moved on. But tonight felt different. "You're holding up the elevator," Robert snapped, gesturing at the open doors behind her. "Step away. We have real residents to serve." The words landed like a slap. Real residents. Someone near the back of the lobby whispered, "That's not right." A young man near the mailroom shifted his phone slightly higher. Ariana noticed the red recording light. She didn't tell him to stop. "You could fix this in 30 seconds, she said to Robert. "Oh, I will," Robert shot back, walking toward the concierge desk. "But I'm going to do it the right way. We follow protocol in this building." Ariana tilted her head. "And what protocol is that?" "Public humiliation first." Robert ignored her, waving over the security guard. "Make sure she doesn't move. If she tries to leave, call the NYPD. Last thing we need is another squatter lawsuit." Ariana took a slow breath. She felt the weight of the room shifting. Not toward her, not yet, but away from him. People were watching, listening. She reached into her pocket, pulled out her phone again, and tapped once. A single vibration answered on the other end. "Phase 1 is active," a voice said quietly in her ear. "Good," Ariana murmured. She didn't look at Robert. "Let's see how they handle the truth." Robert Lang slammed the concierge desk phone back into its cradle with a sharp clack. He looked up, scanning the lobby as though he was the final line of defense. "Did you spell it correctly?" Robert snapped his fingers at the guard, ignoring her. "Escort her outside. Now." The guard hesitated. "Sir, she's not resisting." "Maybe we should. Do you want to keep your job?" Robert cut him off. The guard swallowed hard. "Yes, sir." "Then do what you're told." The young man by the mailroom lowered his phone for a second and spoke up. "Why can't you just scan her card? Wouldn't that be faster?" Robert's head snapped around. "Because we don't take orders from random kids with cell phones. Now put that thing away before I have you removed, too." The boy's eyes narrowed, but he lifted his phone again anyway. The red light blinked back to life. Ariana's voice cut through the tension, soft but firm. "You realize you're making a scene, not me." Robert planted his palms on the concierge desk, leaning forward. "No, Ms. Cole. What I'm doing is protecting this building from fraud. Do you know how many people try the scam? Show up dressed like they belong, flash a fake card, and hope no one asks questions? It happens every week. And do they all look like me?" Ariana asked quietly. Robert froze for a split second, then straightened. "This isn't about that," he said quickly. "Isn't it?" A hush fell over the lobby. Even the couple with the dog stopped whispering. The janitor spoke up, voice tentative. I've seen her before. On the top floor." Robert whipped around, eyes blazing. "No one asked for your opinion, Darnell. Get back to work." Darnell flushed and gripped the handle of his card, but he didn't move. Ariana's phone buzzed again in her pocket. She didn't answer it yet. Instead, She watched Robert hold her keycard up to the light like it was a counterfeit bill. "Last chance," Robert said. "Leave quietly, or I'll make sure you never step foot in this lobby again." Ariana's jaw tightened, but her voice remained level. "You're very confident for someone who hasn't asked a single question that matters." Robert barked a bitter laugh. "The only question I need answered is why you think you belong in the penthouse." "I don't think I belong there," Ariana replied, her eyes locking on his. "I do." That was when Robert made his biggest mistake. He turned to the guard and nodded. "Call the cops. Tell them we have a trespasser refusing to leave." "High risk. High risk," Ariana repeated softly. "You're making everyone uncomfortable," Robert shot back. "You're a disruption, and I'm done wasting time." The young man filming muttered, "Unbelievable," just loud enough for others to hear. A woman in the crowd spoke up. "She's not yelling. She's just standing there. This doesn't feel right." Robert spun around to face the group. "Do any of you run this building?" "No." "Then stay out of it." Ariana reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone. She pressed a single button. "Phase 2, she said quietly into the receiver. "Yes, Miss Cole," came the reply on the other end. Robert frowned. "Who do you think you are, calling shots in my lobby?" Ariana slipped the phone back into her pocket. "You'll find out soon enough." The phone in Ariana's pocket stopped vibrating. She slipped it back into place and straightened her shoulders, her eyes never leaving Robert's face. She didn't shout. She didn't argue. She simply stood there. Robert mistook her silence for submission. "That's what I thought," he sneered, waving a dismissive hand. "Security, walk her out. Don't touch her unless she refuses, but get her out of my lobby now." The security guard, a broad-shouldered man in his mid-30s, shifted uncomfortably. He stepped toward Ariana, but his movements were hesitant, unsure. "Ma'am, could you please what?" Ariana's voice was soft, but it carried. "Please leave the building, I call home." The guard froze. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. Robert filled the silence. "You heard me. This is private property. She's not on the list." End of story. Ariana didn't move. She adjusted the strap of her bag and let her gaze travel around the lobby, landing briefly on the janitor, on the dog walker, on the young man still holding up his phone. Every face told her the same thing. They were watching, waiting to see how far Robert would take this. She inhaled slowly, grounding herself. She'd been here before. At 25, she'd been mistaken for a courier while visiting one of her early investors at a midtown office tower. She had worn a tailored suit that day, portfolio in hand, but the receptionist had pointed toward the freight elevator without a second thought. "Deliveries go that way," the woman had said. Ariana had smiled then, thanked her politely, and swallowed the sting. At 30, she had stepped into a hotel lobby she owned and been told by a new night manager that guests aren't allowed to linger near the VIP bar. She'd watched as two men in suits walked past unbothered. Tonight felt no different, except this time, she had no intention of letting it slide. "You're wasting everyone's time," Robert said, folding his arms. "The police are already on their way. You want to explain to them why you were trespassing? Be my guest." Ariana met his glare with quiet calm. "You're certain you want to escalate this?" Robert scoffed. "What are you going to do? Post about it? Tag the building online? Trust me, no one's going to care." Ariana tilted her head slightly, like she was studying him. "You're sure about that?" Robert stepped closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne. "I'm sure about one thing. You're not going anywhere near that penthouse tonight. Now get out before you embarrass yourself further." A soft murmur rippled through the crowd. Someone whispered, "She's not the one embarrassing herself." The young man filming finally spoke louder. "Why don't you just run her card? You keep saying she's not on the list, but you're not even checking properly." Robert's head whipped toward him. "Put the phone down before I have you removed, too." The boy didn't budge. Ariana finally spoke again, her tone still measured. "If I leave this building, it won't be because you told me to. It will be because I decide to. Do you understand the difference?" Robert's mouth opened, then closed. He seemed momentarily caught off guard by her composure. "You're bluffing," he said finally, his voice louder than before. "You don't belong here. And if you think that calm act is going to fool anyone, you're wrong." Ariana adjusted her bag strap again and stepped forward, closing the distance between them by a single pace. Her eyes were steady, her voice barely above a whisper. "You mistake silence for weakness. That's your first mistake." Robert faltered, just for a moment. The security guard glanced at Ariana, then at Robert. He didn't move. Ariana didn't press further. She let the weight of her words hang in the air like a storm cloud ready to break. Her phone buzzed once more in her pocket. She didn't answer. Not yet. The lobby was no longer quiet. Conversations had turned into hushed murmurs. Phone cameras tilted discreetly, but deliberately. Every pair of eyes seemed fixed on Ariana and Robert, as though they were the only two people in the room. The janitor, Darnell, shifted from foot to foot near his supply cart, gripping the handle so tight his knuckles whitened. He'd seen this before, different faces, same tone. He wanted to speak, but hesitated, the weight of Robert's authority holding his voice hostage. A dog barked suddenly, breaking the tense silence. The dog walker murmured, "Saish," and glanced nervously at Ariana, as though apologizing for the noise. The young man holding up his phone stepped forward a few inches. "This isn't right," he said, louder this time. "She's just standing there. She's not hurting anyone. You're blowing this way out of proportion." Robert turned on him like a spotlight. "You don't run this building. Put the phone down before I have you escorted out." The young man didn't flinch. "Go ahead. Everyone here can see what's happening." He angled his phone so it captured the growing crowd behind him. A woman in a navy blazer crossed her arms. "He's right," she said. "You could have checked her card 20 minutes ago, but you're making a spectacle instead." Robert's face flushed. "And who are you?" "Another resident who wants to question protocol." "Another resident," the woman echoed, the word like a challenge. Ariana's gaze swept the room. She didn't say anything, but the quiet confidence in her posture spoke volumes. She was allowing the scene to unfold, allowing Robert to show everyone exactly who he was. From the far corner of the lobby, a teenage girl in a Sterling Residence's hoodie raised her phone and whispered to her friend, "I'm live streaming this." The friend's eyes were wide. "How many people are watching?" 300, the girl whispered back. "It's climbing fast." Darnell finally cleared his throat. His voice was low, almost uncertain. I've seen her before. On the top floor." Robert's head snapped around, eyes blazing. "No one asked you, Darnell. Get back to work." But Darnell didn't move. His lips pressed into a thin line, and he tightened his grip on the cart. The crowd murmured again. Someone whispered, "He's lying." Another voice added, "He's going too far." Robert ignored them all. "Security," he barked, pointing at Ariana. "Get her out. Now." The guard took one reluctant step forward. He looked at Ariana, then back at Robert. "Sir, do I have to do it myself?" Robert roared. The guard stopped. He didn't touch Ariana. "You're making this worse for yourself," Robert said, jabbing a finger toward Ariana's chest. "The cops are going to be here any minute, and when they see you resisting what?" Ariana's voice cut through the air like a blade. She hadn't raised her voice, but the room seemed to still. The young man filming muttered, "Exactly." A resident near the elevator finally spoke up, voice shaking but clear. "She's not resisting anything. She's just existing. And you're treating her like a criminal." Robert swung toward the woman, face red with fury. "Do you want to be next?" The woman took a step back, but her voice didn't waver. "No, I just want you to stop." The teenage girl's live stream counter ticked higher. 500 now, she whispered to her friend. Ariana looked around the lobby, her eyes lingering on every bystander, every phone raised in silence. She knew the power of witnesses, knew that their presence, their attention, was shifting the dynamic inch by inch. She finally spoke, her voice calm, unshaken. "This lobby isn't yours," she said to Robert. He laughed bitterly. "Oh, it's not yours either, sweetheart." Ariana didn't respond. She didn't need to. Her phone buzzed again in her pocket. She let it ring once, twice, before sliding it out and answering quietly. "Phase 3, she said. "Yes, Miss Cole." The voice on the other end replied. Robert's brow furrowed. "Who keeps calling you? Who are you even talking to?" Ariana slipped the phone back into her pocket, her face unreadable. "Someone who knows exactly where this is going." Robert Lang was unraveling, but he couldn't see it. His voice was louder now, each syllable a hammer aimed at Ariana's calm. "You're still here." He gestured wildly at the security guard. "Get her out before the police get here, and we all regret it." The guard didn't move. His jaw tightened. His eyes darted from Robert to Ariana and back again. Ariana stood perfectly still, her hands resting lightly on the strap of her bag. She had not raised her voice once. "Ma'am," the guard said softly. Maybe it's better if you just what? Ariana asked, her tone even. Leave my home because he told me to? Robert slammed his palm down on the concierge desk, making everyone in the lobby jump. You don't have a home here. Do you understand me? We have rules, and you're not above them. You're not even on the list. Ariana's lips parted, but before she could respond, the woman in the navy blazer stepped forward. She said she lives here. Why don't you believe her? Robert turned on her. Because I run this building. I know who lives here and who doesn't. The young man with the phone scoffed. You're acting like a dictator. Robert pointed at him, finger trembling with anger. One more word, and you're out too. And you can explain to the cops why you were filming private property. The teenager's live stream audience ticked higher, 700 now. Comments scrolled rapidly. This is insane. She's so calm. That manager's gonna regret this. Darnell, still gripping his cart, finally spoke louder. She does live here. I've seen her more than once. Penthouse. Robert spun around. You're lying. Darnell's voice wavered, but didn't break. No, I'm not. Robert stalked toward him, towering over the janitor. Say that again. Say it to my face. Darnell held his ground. I've seen her. You're wrong, Robert. The crowd murmured in agreement. The woman with the dog nodded. I've seen her too. Once, in the elevator. Robert's face flushed scarlet. He turned back to Ariana, jabbing a finger at her. You're manipulating them. That calm act, it's fake. And the second the police get here, they'll see right through you. Ariana tilted her head, almost curious. Will they? Robert's voice cracked with desperation. Yes, because you don't belong here, and I'm going to prove it. He yanked the keycard from the security guard's pocket and held it up like a trophy. This isn't even real, he said, his voice dripping with contempt. Probably a fake you bought online. But you know what? I'll hold on to it while the cops run your ID. Ariana's voice was soft, but it carried. You're stealing my property in front of witnesses. Robert laughed harshly. Property? You think you have property here? The teenage girl holding the live stream whispered into her phone's mic. This is going to blow up. The woman in the blazer crossed her arms. He's digging his own grave. Security. Robert barked again. Lock the exits until police arrive. I don't want her slipping away. The guard hesitated, visibly uncomfortable. That's not. Do it. The guard's shoulders slumped. He moved toward the front doors, but didn't engage the locks. Ariana's phone buzzed again in her pocket. She slipped it out slowly this time, her expression unreadable. Yes, she said into the receiver. She listened for a moment, then replied, Proceed. Robert sneered. Proceed with what? Calling your friends to back you up? That's not going to work here. Ariana slipped the phone back into her pocket and met his glare with unshaken calm. You'll see soon enough. The murmur in the crowd grew louder. More phones were raised now. Robert noticed, and his hands clenched into fists. All of you, he shouted, stop recording. This is private property. You're violating building policy. No one lowered their cameras. Ariana let the silence stretch until it felt heavy, unbreakable. Then she spoke, each word measured. You keep saying this is your building, she said softly. But you've forgotten something very important. Robert blinked, thrown by the sudden edge in her tone. And what's that? Ariana's gaze didn't waver. It's not yours to run unchecked. Robert Lang's chest heaved as he glared at Ariana. He could feel the crowd's energy slipping from his control, and it made him double down. You think you're clever? He spat. Trying to embarrass me in front of residents? Not going to work. Ariana didn't move. I'm not trying to embarrass you, she said evenly. You're doing that all by yourself. Her calm only enraged him further. Robert stormed back behind the concierge desk and yanked open a drawer. He pulled out a thin steel box, the building's lockbox for confiscated items, and held it up for everyone to see. Since you want to play games, he announced loudly, I'm holding this card as evidence until the NYPD arrives. He opened the box with a dramatic flourish and dropped Ariana's black keycard inside. The metallic clink echoed through the lobby like a verdict. He slammed the box shut and twisted the key. There, he said, straightening with a smug grin. Now you have nothing. You're officially locked out. The woman in the navy blazer gasped. You can't just take her card. Robert barked a laugh. Watch me. This is building property now. Ariana's eyes narrowed. That keycard belongs to me. Robert's voice turned mocking. Belongs to you? You're really committed to this little act, huh? He stepped closer, lowering his voice just enough for those nearby to hear. You don't belong here. People like you never do. The words hit the air like a slap. Several bystanders audibly sucked in a breath. The teenage girl live streaming whispered, "Did he just say that?" The young man with the phone muttered, "Oh, he's finished." But Robert wasn't done. He waved the security guard forward again. "Grab her bag. If she won't leave willingly, we'll remove her and hold her belongings until the cops clear her." The guard froze. "Sir, I can't. That's an order." Robert snapped. "Do it now." The guard looked at Ariana, then at the crowd, and slowly shook his head. "No, sir. I'm not touching her." Robert's face turned crimson. He stepped around the desk and marched toward Ariana himself. "Fine. I'll do it." Ariana didn't flinch as he reached for the strap of her bag. "You're making a mistake," she said softly. Robert ignored her. His fingers closed around the strap and yanked hard, trying to pull it off her shoulder. Gasps erupted from the onlookers. The dog barked again. Someone shouted, "Stop!" But Robert kept pulling. "This will go in the lockbox too," he growled. Ariana's grip tightened, but she didn't resist with force. She simply held the bag in place, her voice steady as she looked him in the eye. "Let go," Robert sneered. "Or what?" Before Ariana could answer, the young man filming stepped forward. "I've got all of this on camera," he said loudly. "You're assaulting her." Robert turned on him. "Back off." The young man didn't move. Darnell stepped away from his cart and joined him. "You need to stop, Robert. This has gone too far." Robert's hands trembled with rage as he released the bag and spun around to face the crowd. "You're all siding with a trespasser? Fine. When the police get here, we'll see how fast you change your tune." He stalked back to the concierge desk and grabbed the phone, stabbing at the keypad. "This is Robert Lang at Sterling Residences," he barked into the receiver. "We have a high-risk intruder refusing to leave the premises. Send officers immediately." "Yes, high risk." "She's belligerent and aggressive." Ariana's calm voice cut across the room. "Is that what you're going to tell them? That I'm aggressive?" Robert slammed the phone down. "That's exactly what I'm going to tell them. And then you can explain yourself downtown." The crowd murmured in protest. A resident near the elevator shook his head. "She hasn't raised her voice once." Robert pointed at him. "Quiet. All of you." Ariana slowly adjusted her bag strap again, her eyes never leaving his. "You've crossed a line you can't uncross." Robert's lip curled. "The only line I care about is the one that keeps people like you out of this building." Gasps filled the lobby. Phones lifted higher. The teenage girl's live stream count passed 1,000. Ariana didn't speak this time. She didn't have to. The room had already heard everything. Her phone buzzed in her pocket once more. She reached for it deliberately, her voice low but clear. "Phase 4, she said. "Yes, Miss Cole." The voice on the other end replied. Robert blinked. "Miss Cole? Who the hell are you?" Ariana slipped the phone away. "You'll find out soon enough." Ariana slipped her phone back into her pocket and straightened, her calm presence cutting through the lobby's frayed tension. She didn't glance at Robert or the steel lockbox where her keycard sat. Instead, she looked at the crowd, at the phones raised high, the silent witnesses standing shoulder to shoulder, capturing every second. Robert, red-faced and breathing hard, tried to regain control. "Don't just stand there," he barked at the security guard. "Get her out before the police show up." The guard's voice was quiet but firm. "I'm not touching her." "This is wrong, Robert." Robert's head snapped around. "Excuse me. I said I'm not putting my hands on her." The guard repeated, this time louder. "You're fired," Robert spat. "No," Ariana said softly, but the words sliced through the air like a command. Every eye turned to her. "He's not." Robert scoffed. "You think you can decide that? Who do you think you are?" Ariana stepped forward, closing the distance between them by a single measured pace. "I think I'm the person you should have listened to 20 minutes ago." Robert's breath hitched. "You're bluffing." Ariana didn't answer. Instead, she reached into her bag and pulled out a slim, matte black business card. She held it between two fingers and placed it on the concierge desk with deliberate care. The card's embossed letters gleamed under the lobby's pendant lights. Cole International Holdings, Ariana Cole, CEO and founder. Robert's face drained of color. What is this?" "My business card," Ariana replied. "You should read it." He stared at the card like it might burn him. "This is fake." "You've been saying that a lot tonight," Ariana said evenly. "About my keycard. About my identity. About everything you didn't want to believe. But this, She tapped the card lightly with her finger. This isn't fake. And neither is my name on the deed of this building. A stunned silence fell over the lobby. The woman in the navy blazer gasped. Wait, you own Sterling Residences? Ariana nodded once. Every square foot. Phones in the crowd started buzzing as whispers rippled like a current. The teenage girl live streaming turned the camera to her own shocked face. Oh my God, she whispered. She's the owner. Robert's mouth opened, then closed. He looked at the card again, then at Ariana, and then at the crowd staring at him. No, you can't be. I am, Ariana cut in sharply. And I've been watching how you run my building for months now. Tonight was just confirmation. Robert staggered back a step. This is a misunderstanding. You showed up unannounced. Ariana didn't blink. It wouldn't have mattered how I showed up. You decided I didn't belong the moment you saw me. Robert's lips trembled. I was just following protocol. Ariana tilted her head, her voice soft but laced with steel. What protocol covers ripping a resident's keycard out of their hand? What protocol covers humiliating someone in their own lobby? What protocol covers telling an entire crowd they don't belong because they don't look the part? Robert had no answer. Ariana reached into her bag again and retrieved her phone. She tapped the screen and held it to her ear. Carla, she said, her voice calm and deliberate. Yes, Miss Cole, came the reply on the other end. Lock Robert Lang's access to the building effective immediately, Ariana said, her eyes locked on him. Cancel his credentials, shut down his email, and schedule a full audit of all resident complaints he's dismissed in the past 12 months. Robert blinked. Wait, what? Confirmed, Carla said crisply. It's done. A soft chime sounded from Robert's belt. He looked down at his work badge and saw the small red light flashing. He swiped it across the reader at the concierge desk. The light stayed red. No, he whispered. He tried again. Red. Again. Red. You're making a mistake, Robert sputtered. Ariana slipped her phone into her pocket. No, Robert, she said quietly. You did that when you chose humiliation over humanity. The crowd murmured louder now, phones capturing every detail. Robert took a step back, his hands trembling. Please, I was just doing my job. Ariana's voice didn't rise, but the weight of it filled the room. Your job was to protect the people who live here, not terrorize them. Not me, not anyone. Robert's shoulders sagged. He looked smaller somehow, diminished in the harsh glow of the lobby lights. Ariana turned to the security guard. You're staying, she said. I'll meet with you tomorrow to discuss new oversight procedures. The guard nodded slowly, relief etched across his face. Ariana looked back at Robert. You need to leave. Now. Robert Lang's breath came in shallow bursts, his back inching closer to the concierge desk, as if the polished marble could swallow him whole. His access badge still blinked red at his hip, the tiny light a scarlet mark of his collapse. You can't do this, he stammered, glancing from Ariana to the crowd of witnesses. I've been here 8 years. You don't just fire someone like me on the spot. Ariana stepped closer, her heels tapping against the marble like a metronome of inevitability. She held her phone loosely at her side, but her gaze was unrelenting. Robert, she said calmly, you already did this to yourself. I just made it official. He shook his head, eyes darting for someone, anyone, to back him up. I was protecting the building. Following protocol. Protocol doesn't tear up resident keycards, Ariana replied, her voice cutting through the hum of phones recording. Protocol doesn't humiliate people in their own lobby, and it doesn't target anyone who doesn't fit your idea of belonging. A resident near the elevator called out, she's right. You've done this before. Another added, I complained about you last month. Nothing changed. Robert's face flushed a deep crimson. He spun toward the crowd. Oh, so now you all want to pile on. None of you had a problem cashing in on my hard work when I was making sure this building stayed exclusive. Ariana's voice was low, but it silenced the room. Exclusive? Robert turned back to her, his words unraveling. I mean, you don't understand how many people try to sneak in. No, Robert, Ariana interrupted. I understand perfectly, because I've been on the receiving end of it my entire life. She took another step forward, closing the distance between them. When I was 25, I walked into a building like this for a business meeting, and the manager told me deliveries had to use the freight elevator. I was wearing the same suit I bought for job interviews. The same suit I couldn't afford to replace if it tore on rusty metal stairs. She paused, letting the memory breathe. The crowd was silent, listening. That day, she continued, I promised myself I would build something different. That no one would ever make me feel small in a building I owned. Ariana reached into her bag and retrieved a slim leather folder. She flipped it open and pulled out a single sheet of paper, placing it flat on the concierge desk. Here, she said. Robert stared at it, but didn't touch. This is the deed for Sterling Residences, Ariana explained. My name is on every line that matters. I own this building outright. And now everyone here knows it. The teenage girl live streaming whispered into her mic. She's the owner. She has the deed. Oh my God. Robert's lips trembled. This can't be real. Ariana's voice softened. Look at it. Read it. But whether you believe it or not doesn't change the truth. He reached out with shaking hands and skimmed the page. Each letter of her name was a nail in the coffin of his denial. No, he whispered, looking up at her. You set me up. I gave you a chance, Ariana corrected, her tone steady. Multiple chances, in fact. And you failed every single one. Phones in the crowd clicked with camera shutters. A resident muttered, this is going viral. Robert's shoulders slumped, his bravado completely gone. Please, he said quietly. Please don't ruin my life over this. I have a family. Ariana's expression softened only slightly. I don't want to ruin you, Robert. But I also won't allow you to ruin the trust people should feel in their own home. She leaned in, her words for him alone now. You mistook silence for weakness. That's your last mistake. The lobby was so quiet the sound of the building's elevator chiming felt like thunder. Ariana straightened, tucking the deed back into her folder. Security, she said, turning to the guard who had refused Robert's orders earlier. Please escort Mr. Lang off the property. The guard nodded and stepped forward. Robert looked at Ariana one last time, his mouth opening like he might beg again, but no words came. The weight of the crowd's eyes pressed down like stone. As he was led toward the doors, the teenage girl's live stream count passed 1,500. Comments scrolled so fast they blurred. Justice. She's a queen. This is the best thing I've seen all year. Ariana didn't watch him go. She turned back to the concierge desk, her voice calm, measured, and final. This building deserves better, she said. And starting tonight, it will have it. The heavy glass doors shut behind Robert Lang with a dull finality. For a moment, the lobby was eerily still. Everyone stared at Ariana, at the folder in her hands, at the access badge Robert had left behind still blinking red like a defeated warning light. Then the whispers began. Did that really just happen? A resident murmured near the elevator. She owns the building. Another replied, still clutching their phone like a lifeline. I can't believe it. No. Actually, I can. The woman in the navy blazer stepped forward, shoulders squared as though something inside her had finally cracked open. Ms. Cole, she said, her voice shaking, I'm sorry. I've seen Robert treat people this way before. I should have spoken up sooner. Ariana met her gaze. You're speaking now? That matters. The young man with the phone stepped closer. He's thrown out delivery guys, friends of residents, anyone he didn't like the look of. Ariana nodded. I've heard the complaints. Too many of them. The security guard, who had refused to touch Ariana even when Robert ordered it, cleared his throat. I've been here 2 years, he admitted. And every time someone questioned him, Robert shut it down. He said he was protecting the building. But really, he trailed off, shaking his head. Really, Ariana finished softly. He was protecting his power. The teenage girl holding her live stream stepped forward now, camera still rolling. You're trending, she whispered. Like, everywhere. People are already calling this Sterling Gate. Ariana allowed herself the smallest smile. I'm not here for hashtags, she said. But the girl just grinned and kept streaming. A woman with a small dog in her arms finally broke her silence. I remember the first time he made me feel like I didn't belong here, she said. And I own my condo. It was humiliating. Darnell, the janitor, stepped up from behind his cart, finally finding his voice. He made me feel like that every day, he said. I almost quit twice. I thought maybe it was just me. It was never just you, Ariana said. The crowd seemed to draw closer to her now, not out of curiosity, but solidarity. Residents who had stood frozen at the edges were moving in, speaking up. My niece visited last month, a man said. Robert followed her around the lobby like she was a criminal. She was 15. He told my son to use the service entrance when he came home from college, another added. My son was furious. I wrote an email about it, but Robert ignored it, Ariana said. Heads nodded all around. You've been patient, Ariana told them, her voice carrying a weight that quieted the murmurs. You've given him the benefit of the doubt. But patience without accountability just enables abuse. The young man with the phone lowered it for a moment. So what happens now? Are you going to replace him? Yes, Ariana said simply. But more importantly, we're going to rebuild trust. This building deserves better than fear and humiliation at the front door. The security guard stepped forward, his expression firm. I'll help however I can, Ms. Cole. You already did, Ariana replied. The woman with the dog hugged the little animal to her chest. Thank you, she whispered, for standing your ground. For not letting him erase you. Ariana looked at her, her voice soft but resolute. He was never going to erase me. But he's erased too many others. That ends tonight. The teenage girl lifted her phone higher, addressing the stream. You heard that? She's not just the owner, she's cleaning house. Literally. A small ripple of laughter spread through the group, breaking some of the tension at last. Ariana turned back to the concierge desk. She set the deed folder down and spoke clearly, her words aimed at everyone in the room. This isn't just about Robert Lang, she said. It's about the culture he created, the one some of you have endured in silence because it felt easier than fighting. That culture is over. And if anyone here ever feels disrespected again, my office will hear about it, directly. A chorus of thank yous followed. The security guard glanced at Ariana with a faint smile. What do you want me to do with his badge? Keep it, Ariana said, her tone calm but final. Let it be a reminder of what happens when power goes unchecked. Ariana's voice carried the weight of finality as she turned to the security guard. I'll need you to escort Robert Lang off the property permanently, she said. He is not to return here under any circumstances. If he does, you call me first, then the police. The guard nodded sharply. Understood, Ms. Cole. She shifted her attention to the crowd. Every single resident complaint that Robert ignored over the past year will be reviewed. Starting tonight, we're setting up a direct line from this building to my office. No more middlemen. No more silencing. Phones in the lobby kept recording. The teenage girl's live stream count had skyrocketed past 2,000. Viewers sent hearts and comments racing across the screen. This is justice. She's incredible. Wish I had this kind of leadership where I live. Ariana pulled her phone from her bag and dialed a number without hesitation. Carla, she said when her assistant answered, begin termination paperwork for Robert Lang. Full severance review, legal audit included. Freeze his accounts immediately and lock any access he has to Sterling's systems. Already processing, Carla replied. You want me to coordinate with HR tonight? Yes, Ariana said, and inform the board. They need to know why this decision was made, and that we're reviewing hiring practices across every property we own. Consider it done. Ariana ended the call and looked at the security guard. Please remove his things from the manager's office. Bag everything, document it, and change the locks. Yes, ma'am. The guard hesitated for a moment, then asked quietly, do you want me to inform him? Ariana shook her head. He knows. The woman with the dog shifted closer, watching Ariana with wide, reverent eyes. You're not even angry, she said softly. How can you be so calm after what he did? Ariana's expression softened, but her voice remained steady. Anger would have given him power. Calm is what takes it away. The young man with the phone muttered, That's powerful. Ariana turned back to the concierge desk. She picked up Robert's blinking badge from where it had been left and held it up for the room to see. This, she said, is what happens when someone mistakes authority for immunity. I want everyone here to remember that no one is above accountability. Darnell, the janitor, stepped forward hesitantly. Ms. Cole, thank you. I didn't think anyone would ever stand up to him. You deserve respect just as much as any resident, Ariana told him. That's going to change. The teenage girl lowered her phone for a moment. What about the people who covered for him? The ones who let this happen? Ariana looked around the lobby, her gaze steady but not harsh. If they were complicit, they'll answer for it. But I'm also giving people the chance to step forward, to tell the truth without fear. Silence allowed this to continue for too long. That silence ends now. A resident near the elevator called out. "Thank you, Miss Cole." Another added, "We needed this." Ariana inclined her head, but she didn't bask in the gratitude. "Tonight isn't about me," she said. "It's about the standard we're setting from this point forward. No one will be made to feel small in their own home again." The security guard reappeared at the entrance, holding Robert's small box of personal items. He set it on the concierge desk and gave Ariana a nod. "His office is cleared. Locks changed." "Thank you," Ariana said. She looked out across the lobby one final time, at the residents, the staff, the cameras capturing every breath. "This isn't about punishment," she said. "It's about trust, and rebuilding it starts tonight." The lobby of Sterling Residences had transformed. What had been a stage for humiliation less than an hour ago was now a space charged with quiet reverence. The crowd had thinned but not dispersed. Residents stood in small clusters, murmuring to one another, eyes darting occasionally toward Ariana Cole as though trying to process what they had witnessed. Ariana stood at the center of it all, composed and steady. The weight of the evening lingered in her shoulders, but her voice was as firm as it had been from the start. "This building," she said, addressing the remaining crowd, "belongs to all of you who call it home. It does not belong to fear. It does not belong to gatekeeping. And it will never again belong to someone who mistakes authority for unchecked power." A murmur of agreement rippled through the lobby. The woman in the navy blazer stepped forward. "Miss Cole, thank you. For all of this. For showing us what leadership looks like." Ariana offered a small nod. "Leadership isn't about who holds the keys," she said softly. "It's about making sure everyone feels safe when they walk through their own front door." Darnell, the janitor, raised his voice for the first time without hesitation. "We'll remember this, ma'am. I'll remember this." Ariana turned to him and smiled, a rare warmth breaking through her stoicism. "Then my work tonight isn't wasted." The teenage girl with the live stream stepped closer, still holding her phone, but now with a different energy, less voyeuristic, more reverent. "You're everywhere online right now," she whispered. "People are calling you a hero." Ariana shook her head gently. "I'm not a hero. I'm someone who refused to be erased in a building she owns." The girl lowered her phone. "That's still pretty heroic." Ariana let the words hang in the air for a moment, then turned back toward the concierge desk. She picked up the steel lockbox Robert had used to confiscate her keycard earlier. With one swift motion, she unlocked it and retrieved the card. "This," she said, holding it up, "was my access to the penthouse I live in. And tonight, it became a symbol for something much bigger. When someone tries to take away your access to dignity, you take it back. Quietly if you can, loudly if you must, but you take it back." The lobby fell silent. She slid the keycard into her bag and stepped toward the elevator. The doors opened with a soft chime, as though the building itself was welcoming her home. Just before stepping inside, Ariana turned to the crowd one last time. "You all saw what happened tonight," she said. "You saw how quickly assumptions can strip someone of their humanity. Don't let silence be the reason it happens again. Not here. Not anywhere." Her gaze swept the room, landing on each face for a heartbeat. "You mistook my silence for weakness," she said, echoing the words she had delivered to Robert earlier. "That was your last mistake." The elevator doors began to close, but the lobby erupted in applause before they shut completely. It wasn't loud or celebratory. It was a soft, steady rhythm of appreciation and respect. Ariana didn't turn around. She didn't need to. As the doors sealed shut, the teenage girl whispered into her camera for the last time that night. She didn't just fire a building manager. She changed the building. And for everyone who had watched Ariana Cole stand her ground with grace and power, there was no question. The Sterling Residences would never be the same again.